What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video we are diving into the Retro Cup for the first time this season. This is a meta that we have seen many times before, and it is banning Steel, Dark, and Fairy type Pokemon. So this kind of opens the door for a whole new meta, right? No more Metachams, Noctowls, and Lanturns out there. No, there would never be that team out there. Anyways, I'm just joking. Today, I want to try, obviously I want to bring the goat here into the first set, and I also want to try the pancake, that is being Unova Stunfisk. Because there are so many anti-flyers and flyers, the Unova Stunfisk, especially if there's the Walreins or Dugongs, can do pretty well and kind of core break those teams, and we're using Cofagrigus as a safe swap since there's no dark type Pokemon. I know there's normal, but we can at least do neutral damage with Dark Pulse. Alright, getting into the first battle, we have Stunfisk on the lead versus Drifblim. So this is obviously pretty good matchup for us, as Discharge is going to be doing super effective damage, but I was one turn late right there, so that's a slight mistake on me. I should have gone for the Discharge right away, because sadly we're not going to be doing as much damage now. But that's okay, we can basically soft lose this lead. I would rather have shield advantage if I can get it with this team, because the GOAT obviously does amazing with shield advantage, even against its hardest counters like Noctowl and Lickitung here in this meta, because we are running with Shadow Fire Spin and Shadow Fire Blast. You guys cannot underestimate that damage. I have been preaching it for years, and a lot of people are like, why not run Hex? It's better energy gain. I'm like, that neutral damage from Fire Spin, you just can't put down. Now, I make a slight mistake right here, as I should be swapping out, but I just let them farm me down. That's okay. We're going to come in with Cofagrigus and look to farm down. We will have to give up a shield here on the potential Shadow Ball, but at least we have a good amount of energy, and Icy Wind now can be cleared if we swap into the GOAT. It is going to be Shadow Snorlax in the back, so I'm going to go ahead and swap into the GOAT. I am concerned about Shadow Snorlax's potential Earthquake, but that was too quick. Snorlax does have access to it, but Body Slam and Superpower are resisted. Really doesn't do that much damage, and we will go for the Fire Blast right here. I'm going to go ahead and look to let this go. It's not going to KO us. I know you're living on the edge right here, but we will go for the Fire Blast with 1 HP and a Dream. This is either going to get the shield or it's going to one-shot, and well, it one-shots. Boom! See ya! Final Pokemon is going to be Shadow Venusaur, so because I have so much energy on Cofagrigus, this is going to be a good game. I can safely go for double Shadow Ball, and that's going to be enough. Now, looking back at this, obviously, once the charge moves lands on the Stunfisk, we swap out to Cofagrigus right away to try to get that farm down or draw out the Snorlax and save the Stunfisk for a potential sack swap later in the game. That's what I typically do, but I brain farted right there. It happens. But either way, boom, see ya, we win this game. Good job. Alright, moving into the next one. We have Stunfisk on the lead versus Toxapex. This is a very common tanky Pokemon that I have seen, and we have an Altaria swap in. So, this is bold. People safe swapping Altarias, that's a bold move. Like, do you guys not fear the Dugongs and Walreins? But hey, you know, power to you. I'm going to go ahead and go for a Discharge here. What I want to do in this matchup is look to get the Altaria to about 50% HP and drain its energy, because I can safely have this much health remaining on Stunfisk for the Toxapex matchup. Now I can come in with Cofagrigus and look to go for the Shadow Ball right here to KO the Altaria. Dark Pulse may not just be enough. It would be close, but Shadow Ball, we're at the same energy right here. They're not the same energy in terms of the charge moves, but we get to them at the same time. Now Toxapex coming in. This is what's so cool about having ghosts on your roster in this meta. Yes, normal type Pokemon resist ghost type moves, but we resist the poison type moves, which can be commonly seen on Nidoqueen and Toxapex here in the meta. So this is looking pretty good. We've already gotten the Toxapex down to like 20% HP right here. Brine is not enough to KO us, which is going to allow us to go for a Shadow Ball here against a Haxorus that swaps in. And it's pretty cool that they have Double Dragon, but I'm going to bring in the Alolan Marowak right here as we resist counter. Now, I will give up shields. Obviously, Haxorus has access to Night Slash, but it's got Surf. And I was like, wait, hold on 1 minute. Because typically, right, in all the other leagues, we use Night Slash, we use Dragon Claw, or we use Breaking Swipe, or we use Earthquake. But never have we used Surf. So I was really surprised for a second that it had access to Surf. That's pretty cool. Granted, and I should know that considering how many times I've used Haxorus myself, but I just didn't. It took me by surprise. It didn't matter. I was shielding anyways because of the Night Slash potential. But this is going to be a good game. Brian is not going to be enough to KO us. Were you guys surprised by the Surf as well? Some of you probably weren't. Maybe you used Surf yourself. But obviously I was expecting the Night Slash. But yeah, Surf. Right after this game, I had to go to PV Poke. I'm like, hold up. This thing has access to Surf? That's some cool coverage if you think about it. Alright, good game. Moving into the next one, we have Stunfisk on the lead versus Noctowl. So obviously, really nice matchup here for us, and they're deciding to stay in, which tells me we are core breaking right now. Whenever you have such a positive lead in terms of like the Noctowl matchup, yes, they can do neutral with Shadow Ball, but this tells me that they are weak in the back. There is something back there that does not like, most likely the ground typing here. Could be the electric, right? Could be like a Dugong back there or a Walrein. But either way, getting Noctowl out of the game this early is going to be very beneficial for us. And they decide to let both charge moves go through. I'm like, all right. So now I'm going to be very, very risky right here. I'm going to shield, and I'm going to commit to the hardest farm down possible with Mud Shot. No, I don't get it. Oh man, that was a bad farm down. I have to shield. It was just the Sky Attack, and now we have a double coming in. So we have lots of energy. So what I am concerned about is something in the back that I need Stunfisk energy for. So I'm going to go ahead and swap out. And this is, sure enough, there's a Lanturn back there, that ground typing, right? So a Noctowl Lanturn core. But thankfully, the Cofagrigus can come in and have some nice neutral damage here with Shadow Ball and start forcing some shields. Now, one thing that you might be looking at, that I'm looking at too, is I have an unshielded team against a Double, which most likely has payback. So, this is going to get very dangerous very quickly. Let's see if we can handle it as we go ahead and go for another Shadow Ball here against the Lanturn. We get shield number 2. This now opens the door for a potential win. So, we're going to go ahead and just come in with the Pancake and look to go for the Mud Bomb. I believe I have the count here when I was doing these battles. I did these last night, but I decided to go for Mud Bomb right away. I just want to get this Lanturn out of there. I think they were pretty close to another Surf, and so they decide to swap out into Double, and unfortunately for me, this Body Slam is going to be connecting. Now, my Stunfisk survives, so I swap out into Marowak, banking a charge move, mind you. Banking the charge move. That's very, very key. And I am taking unshielded payback to the face, but the GOAT survives. The GOAT's the GOAT for a reason, and we're facing off against a GOAT. I mean, yeah. We're going to go ahead and go for a Shadow Bone here against another GOAT on the other side. And we farm down with Fire Spin. Lanturn comes in. We have Mud Bomb. And it's a CMP tie. Lanturn is able to win it. And that is going to be a good game. Very well played. So close right there. Granted, that would have been better for me if I didn't commit to that hard farm down. Right? We could have had that game. Good game though. All right, we got Talonflame here on the lead, shiny Talonflame. So once again, doing well in this matchup, and they decide to swap out into Trevenant. So I was anticipating that based on the cycle of their fast moves. They were either going to go for another Incinerate or try to swap out, so I held my charge move, and it is going to be the Trevenant that comes in. So we're going to look to win this mid-game matchup. We can easily Shadow Claw down here if we go into 2 shields. Perfectly fine by me. I will take Switch, but they decided to let the Dark Pulse go through, which is okay. Talonflame's probably going to be coming back in and looking to go for a Flame Charge, but I do have energy on the back end with our Stunfisk. So we're going to go ahead and let this go. If it's Brave Bird, by all means, but Flame Charge is not going to be enough to KO us. So we should be able to get to a Shadow Ball in time. So I go ahead and go for it. The reason why is if they decide to let it go through, Shadow Ball is just going to be hitting that much harder, right? But they decide to shield, which is fine. I have the Stunfisk. They do a swap out right away, but they swap into Toxapex, and Notice how Talonflame stays in against a losing matchup. It's because they're weak in the back. It happens every single time, and I found Stunfisk to be very good. Now, you guys can mix and match your team around, building around the Stunfisk, but so far I've seen in this meta, it can core break. There are so many flyers, and there are so many anti-flyers or waters, right? So, a Toxapex, a Dugong, a Walrein, all doing very well, especially when there's Noctowls, Charizards, Talonflames, even Pidgeots out there, or neutral damage to Altaria. Talonflame is going to go ahead and come back in. I'm going to risk it right here. I'm calling that I can survive. So I no shield, and we survive. I thought I was gone, but I survived with 1 HP. Granted, I have very, very good IVs on my Pancake, defensive IV, so I was able to survive there. And now this is going to be a good game as I can safely go for the Shadow Bone. Obviously going to be shielding. Don't want to get hit with the Brave Bird, but that is going to be a good game. And it came down to a call right there. Just, can I survive on my Stunfisk? And I thought I could. I've used it quite a bit in seasons past, and it was a good call. So good game. Alright, moving into the next one. We have Stunfisk on the lead versus Lanturn. Okay, very positive matchup. I'm also anticipating a Noctowl in the back, and they decide to stay in. So I'm going to go ahead and just go for Mud Bomb spam. They're going to go for Surf right away. I was anticipating them potentially swapping to catch a charge move like we saw with the Talonflame, but in this case they decide to stay in, so I'm going to go ahead and go for the Mud Bomb here. And this is a big tell that they got a flyer in the back, most likely, right? They're staying in. So I'm going to go ahead and go for another Mud Bomb right away. If they decide to let this go through, I'm going to look to catch on Cofagrigus. That's what I want to do right here. We get a shield, so I'm going to go ahead and swap into Cofagrigus. Reason being, got to save the Pancake for the Noctowl that is most likely in the back. As we soak the Surf right there, we can start loading up on energy. They're probably going to go for another Surf, which is fine. I think having 2 shields on a Alolan Marowak would be the better call in this situation. So I'm going to go ahead and load up a little bit extra energy and now go for Dark Pulse here. This will be enough to KO, and it's a bit lower energy than Shadow Ball. Let's see what they come in with. It's going to be a Pelipper. So, it wasn't a Noctowl, but it was a Flyer. So, clearly, core breaking right here. Noctowl, or Pelipper and Lanturn. And the Shadow Ball lands! They're going for the hard farm down, and this is a tough call. Both of my Pokemon take super effective damage, but Fire Spin is going to farm down Pelipper, whereas Mud Shot will not. If I had Thunder Shock, obviously I come in with the Stunfisk. But in this case, I got to let one Weather Ball go through, and I was hoping that I could get that farm down right there. But now I'm forced to shield. I need to keep Alolan Marowak alive. We know that there is the final Pokemon is going to be Abomasnow. So that's a good game. The Shadow Alolan Marowak obviously loving life right now, as Abomasnow is one of its favorite breakfast meals every single day. We go for a Shadow Bone. I should have just go for Fast Move right here. But I was concerned that the next Weather Ball would KO me, and I would want Stunfisk to get to a charge move in order to win. But ultimately, you got to trust in the fact that this resisted damage is not going to be enough. We Fast Move down anyways. So that is going to be a good game, very well played. Again, it's all about reading what your opponent does to these Stunfisk. Now, Dragonairs are tough. Dragonairs are tough to face off against, so what I have to do here is go for a Mud Bomb and then look to dip into Cofagrigus if I can to soak the energy, or what I'm going to try to do, I think in this first game, I face off against 2 Dragonairs, I believe, today. We're going to let the Aqua Tail go through. We're going to try to go for another Mud Bomb here and forcing a shield. That way we have an advantage going into our Cofagrigus, and then we're going to go ahead and swap into that now that we got that shield, and let's see what we draw out. It is going to be the Lickitung. Very common swap in when you have a Ghost Safe swap that you guys will see. And Cofagrigus with Dark Pulse here can do quite a bit of damage. You don't have to worry about Body Slam from Lickitung, but you do need to watch out for Power Whip. And this is a unique situation where we are at the 2-to-1 shields against my opponent, and I'm thinking, you know what, shielding a Power Whip might not be the best call because I'm hoping it KOs, but it's not. So that's a good thing to notice, that much damage. I really haven't seen this matchup too many times in the past. So seeing that a Power Whip, a full lick up to Power Whip and throw, they might have done a little bit more damage there, was not enough. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let this first charge move go through. I mean, Body Slam, yeah, it doesn't do that much damage, but I am concerned about the potential Power Whip, and I've kind of lost track of the energy here on Lickitung. So I'm like, you know what, I'll just shield, but that was a bad call. Mistake number 2. Now, granted, if you know, better tracking of energy, you know, shield it right there. Now we have a Greedent in the back, and this is dangerous. I'm gonna go ahead and go for Fire Spin. What I'm concerned, there's an Aqua Tail already on Dragonair that's loaded up. Fire Blast lands, and now I'm like, I'm gonna call the Shield Bait. This is most likely Crunch, but I gotta call the Shield Bait, and it was a Crunch. So we go down. Dragonair comes back in, and they have the Aqua Tail right away. I'm doomed if I shield. I'm doomed if I don't. right? So the only safe play for me was to go for the no shield on Body Slam, right? If they throw the Body Slam as a shield bait, then we win. If they throw the Crunch and I shield, they go into Dragonair and they Aqua Tail me. Like, it's game over either way. So that's going to be a good game. Now, Dragonair, again, here's the Shadow Dragonair I was talking about. So in this one, what I want to try to do is catch the charge move on Cofagrigus. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the Mud Bomb. So we played that one. We kind of saw how this matchup goes with Stunfisk versus Dragonair. They let it go through. So now I'm going to swap into Cofagrigus to try to catch the charge move, but they swap out. And a Shadow Golbat comes in. Now this is a huge opportunity to take Switch. We don't need it in terms of alignment, and the Shadow Ball lands, but we need it because Cofagrigus here can put pressure on shields on the back end, and we can get a glimpse potentially at what their third Pokemon is. So we're going to go ahead and farm down. Now, that was their best answer to a Ghost. So Dragonair coming back in now. We're going to go ahead and no shield Aqua Tail. Shouldn't be enough damage to take us out, as we can get to the Dark Pulse now to force the first shield of this game from our opponent. So we saw that, you know what, they don't have a very good answer for Ghost-type Pokemon, as a Golbat came in. So now what we're going to look to do, this is tough. It's like come in with Stunfisk or come in with the Goat. And I'm going to come in with the Goat. I think the Fire Spin farm down is going to be far better for me, because I'm guessing they're weak in the back. So we stop the Aqua Tail, we get the Fire Spin. Don't get it in time. I thought I had it right there. So we're going to be soaking an Aqua Tail, and this is going to hurt. Does so much damage, and the final Pokemon is going to be a Nidoqueen. It makes sense. They didn't have a good answer for Ghost-type Pokemon because the Nidoqueen's poison jabs are resisted. So we go for the Shadow Bone. We get the shield. We come in with the Pancake. We go for Mud Bomb here. They are doomed if they shield, doomed if they don't kind of situation. Mud Bomb does super effective damage, and the Shadow Bone would have done a lot as well. So they're going to go ahead and go for the Earth Power here. But Fire Spin, boom! Fire Spin from a Alolan Marowak should be enough to farm down. That is going to be a good game, very well played. Shadow Bone would have done, I mean, it would have been closer if the Shadow Bone landed and they shield the Mud Bomb. But either way, good game. All right, we got Medicham here on the lead, so we're going to go ahead and swap out into Cofagrigus right away. And they're deciding to stay in and swap out late now into Lanturn. So, can you predict what Pokemon number 3 is going to be? I don't know. We're going to go ahead and go for Shadow Ball. In this Lanturn matchup, obviously, reading a Medicham lead, a Lanturn swap into Cofagrigus. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go hard for Switch, because I'm going to read that there's a Noctowl in the back, which obviously we want the Pancake aligned to Noctowl and Alolan Marowak aligned to Medicham. So now we can go for Dark Pulses after landing the Shadow Ball because it's going to do enough damage. It's just a little bit less energy. We can safely no-shield this next Thunderbolt, as it's not going to be enough to KO us. Now we have a very cool opportunity here to get 2 shields from the opponent after I load up on some extra energy, because I do want to try to get to a Shadow Ball or Dark Pulse versus the Medicham that might be coming back in. Final Pokemon is actually Electrode, so this took me by surprise. It's still a very good matchup for Alolan Marowak, but I was definitely surprised. I thought there was going to be a Noctowl there. So sorry to spoil or actually I didn't spoil it. I hyped up the Noctowl when it actually wasn't. But we have a unique opportunity here. We want to soak energy. I know this is super effective, but now we want to swap into Alolan Marowak, as they do come in with Medicham here. So, I lose if I shield Power-Up Punch and they go for Psychic. So, I no-shield, and it was a Power-Up Punch. So, that is perfect. Now we're going to no-shield again. That was not enough energy for a Psychic, which means maybe they're Ice Punch here. And it is going to be Ice Punch. So that's perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and now safely overload on energy, because Alolan Marowak is the GOAT. As we go for Shadow Bone here to take out the Medicham. And then the Electrode in the back. I was thinking about going for Fire Spin, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get hit with the double Wild Charge. Let's just go for the safe Shadow Bone. Boom. That is going to be a good game. Very well played. Alright, so that these sets were really fun. Again, you guys need to be cognizant of when you lead a Stunfisk, what does your opponent do if you have a positive matchup, right? If you're facing off against Toxapex and they stay in, if you're facing against Noctowl and they stay in, there is usually something else weak back there. And it could be something like Lanturn, like we saw a lot today. So that Coffagrigus coming in is probably going to draw it out, which then frees up a Alolan Marowak a bit more. Overall, pretty fun, spicy team, I would say. Obviously, the meta is going to be pushing more towards Noctowls, Lickitungs, Medichams, you know, all of that like we see on the rankings on PvPoke, but Stunfisk has the opportunity to core break a lot. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.